Slot. He's gonna get the sack.
What a voice!
What
a voice, beautiful. A voice.
Rory said earlier. I feel like I had to chime in.
Yeah, we've all got our own songs.
I'll have to have a song for segment 3, but Arne Slot and Liverpool, big problems, and then a lot of the attention will be taken away from them this weekend because of what happened on Sunday. But
it's true, actually.
I mean, what did you think of them?
What I found mad is I wasn't surprised, and Forest have gone away to Anfield. They won 3-0.
Yeah,
and I wasn't like, oh my God, what's happened there? It was a case of, that sounds about right with how they've been.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, 3-0 is some
3-0, yeah.
The 3-0 part, I was like, what? But the Forest beating them, I was like, could absolutely see that happen.
Yeah, but at Anfield, to do that at Anfield, I think it's like joint record defeat in the Premier League at Anfield. Yeah. To happen to a 19th place Sean Dyche Nottingham Forest, it's not to be disrespectful in any way, shape or form to Sean Dyche, Nottingham Forest.
It should have been 4.
It should have been
4. Yeah, it could have been. It really could have been. Like, they have got massive issues. I think we disagree on where the biggest issue is, because I think it's attack.
I think it's defensively. I think the only reason I think it's defensively is because I think that's the platform for everything else. And I think I mean, it's more individuals defensively as well as the structure, though, because Konate, oh my God, he's got Bambi on ice this season. It's embarrassing. I mean, the game that sticks out the most for me was the Crystal Palace game, when he got spun time after time by Jean-Philippe Mateta. And yesterday again, he's just all over the place.
Well, they made Jesus look like something else.
Yeah, I like him as a player, by the way, or Jesus, but he made them look. They made him look special, and it was like, you've got Konate, you've got Van Dijk, who naturally doesn't like being exposed as a defender really anyway. He loves to be really in control of everything, and now it's all chaos around him. You've seen his game really, really harmed, and it doesn't really reflect on him as a defender, in my opinion. It more reflects on any defender would be exposed in that kind of environment right now. And then he's bought a fullback in Kirkes that
Albert Moreno,
he wants to play as like a back 3, but he is literally just the definition of a flying fullback. George Kirkes, what he should be doing. And Slot wants to try and mould him into a different player, which obviously he's really struggling with. I still think Robertson's past it.
You get a different right back every week.
Yeah.
So, I haven't got one.
Yeah. And also I was going to say, because it gets slept on a bit, because I don't know how he entered Caicedo Rice debates, but Gravenberch's protection of the back 4. That midfield has so many gaps.
Yeah, it does. It does.
I mean, I'm a massive fan of Gravenberch.
He does some nice turns and stuff.
More in possession.
When I look at like,
but he's never been.
Are you shielding that he's playing that role, or he's supposed to be playing that role?
Yeah. But again, that is kind of indication of the balance that Liverpool have in that midfield at the moment. It's like
non-existent.
It's embarrassing. It's absolutely embarrassing. You've got your best midfield player this season, arguably best player, who's filling. I mean, George made a great video about it yesterday, saying your best player should never be a player that is filling in somewhere or doing a role like that, because they've got people that can play right back, like Joe Gomez can play right back. Is it Calvin Ramsey? I think.
Yeah, they've got this Calvin Ramsey academy kid, which again, like, there are points where you might just have to relax. Arsenal did it last season with Miles Lewis-Skelly, like, not to make it about Arsenal, but putting an actual left back at left. Well, he's not even a left back, but putting someone there rather than, if we'd taken Declan Rice and put him at left back, like, what are you doing? It would be.
Maresca did it with Caicedo. I think in the Newcastle game we lost, and you're just fuming at it because you're thinking, why are you making like our best asset? Should be used as.
It's also generally just like a slightly less important, but like you can protect someone at right back, and I agree with everything you're saying about the defence. Like, completely agree with all of it, but I went into the season knowing that defensively, like, they're not going to be the best. Like, we saw the summer they brought in 2 very attacking.
You are right.
But we all said, they'll concede 2, but they'll score 3. They'll concede 3, but they'll score 4. And at the start of the season, the first Bournemouth game, it was like, okay, they'll concede 2, they'll score 4.
Yeah,
they didn't score at home against Nottingham Forest, and this is the big problem. And I think it's a much deeper issue than where the defence. I think Konate's just lost his head this season. I think the Real Madrid stuff's got to him. Left back, right back, maybe they don't work. Like, fundamentally, I think in attack, Isak and Salah don't work together. I think last season, everything was designed for Salah. And Arne Slot said it himself. He was like, Salah is allowed to stay up the field. We work towards him. Trent Alexander-Arnold feeding it into him. It was all about him. And Newcastle United, it was the exact same for Isak. And Newcastle fans will say, like, Jacob Murphy, his first thought is, how can I provide Isak? Isak can drop, he can do whatever he wants. You've now got 2 players in the same team that both need that. That doesn't work.
And also, not only that, with Isak, as good a player as he did look at Newcastle, everyone rated him. Like, you are not playing low blocks every week.
No, you're not.
You are playing
Newcastle. You
are going to play with space. Like, I think you won't be afforded that. That's top. It's harder to acclimatise to that.
He's comfortably good enough to do it, But like,
to
do it regularly.
What level?
He had 2 touches in the box.
Yeah, sure. And I think that is the entire problem. I think you've got Cody Gakpo and Mo Salah starting out wide every week, who are 2 wingers that naturally like to be the guy on the end of it. They are wingers that like to be the final man in the attack, really, and they're not wingers who will look to provide constantly and create chances regularly for strikers. You've got 2 wingers who want to do the same thing. It's kind of the same problem that I've had with Newcastle all season. It's like you've got 2 wingers that want to do the same thing, which is why Waltemar has suffered at times with Newcastle too, and I think that's the same kind of story for Liverpool.
But I just feel like Ekitike has not suffered to the same extent that Isak has.
No, I mean, I don't think
he's where he's been poor. Like,
he has, but he's had more games that you've seen something where you go, there's player there.
He's been eye test fantastic because he looks exciting when he does get those opportunities. Yeah. But you're right, there have been a lot of games where actually he has been fairly nullified,
ineffective,
which again I don't think is his fault. And again with Isak, I know how good Isak is. Yeah. Like I've watched him at Arsenal last season. He absolutely bullied Gabriel and Saliba the way virtually no one else has. So I know he can do it. But you have to design the attack around him. But you need that for Salah as well. And the reason I think again it's a bigger issue for them in attack is that in Salah you've got the highest paid player in Liverpool history now, and in Isak you've got the most expensive player in Premier League history. You've got to pick one or the other, but it's so difficult to do that. And then you've got to fit Florian Wirtz in, who's the second. Like it's an embarrassment. Well, no, right, but maybe you do need to fit him in.
But then Szoboszlai is out in that attacking role where he's been the better player.
Right,
so you do need to fit Wirtz in. Like Wirtz will be the central piece of this Liverpool attack, in my opinion, at some point in the future, because I think he is that creative spark. Like, say what you want about him, and I don't think Slot's system is set up to have a Wirtz in there right now, but. And he might never.
It could be off the left.
He might not come good, but they need a player who is thinking creation first and is thinking, I want to provide chances for other people, whether that's happened from yet or not. He is key, and that's why I think he has been starting a lot of games and kind of been taking up the firing line at times. But I do think he is going to be key for them to turn this around.
I still think he could start off the left in terms of facilitating Isak better than he's been facilitated so far. But at that point, you just have to go Salah and maybe AFCON will actually help because it will just force Arne Slot to find a different solution.
I agree.
And after that, but again, when he comes back and you've got £400,000 a week worth of players sat on the bench,
and he's not. Funnily enough, I mean, my good friend James Carragher. It sounds like a brilliant squad.
Yeah,
and he says they should spend in January, and I would suggest to James.
He does want to spend a lot more money, doesn't he? After spending 500 million on the summer.
Buying players. And players should stop signing for Liverpool.
Yeah,
James, here's your own advice. Your day was coming, James.
You might start thinking, is Salah actually going to be in the dressing room? Is he going to fit in the dressing room?
Yeah.
Might you have to go?
Where are they going to get changed?
Yeah.
But
honestly,
at least you're still not upset about it, mate.
No.
It's I mean, it's one of those things where if they do spend more money in January, then it's going to start looking like a £600 million couple of transfer windows, which again just puts insane amounts of pressure on
won
Slot.
the league.
Yeah, the side won the league.
And they
how much of that
progressed.
was due to Jurgen Klopp then, do you think? Because people are now saying, since the Real Madrid game last season, Liverpool's record has been horrendous. I don't know what the exact record is. I think it's something like 12 or 13 losses.
It was that PSG Newcastle week, and they're almost been...
Yeah, it's been shocking since the start of the year, really. They were at a point where they had an unattainable lead. And realistically, they had no one pushing them the distance. Like Arsenal were the closest team, completely decimated by injuries and focusing more on the Champions League. Like it was
never your fault, but...
No, exactly. That's exactly what I was thinking. So
there was no one near.
But it's one of those where you go, okay, so is Arne Slot the problem?
Yeah.
To an extent, has to be.
Yeah.
Was Jurgen Klopp, had he created a side that was inevitably going to win the league? I don't think so. I think teams, because of the way that Liverpool had finished the Klopp season, I think teams went into last season thinking, okay, well, Liverpool were kind of easy to get at, and they've got a new manager. They didn't respect Liverpool, and Arne Slot himself has spoken about how difficult he's finding it, and Liverpool are finding it to deal with low blocks, set pieces. Welcome to the big leagues. Like, I'm not being funny. That is what City and Arsenal have had to deal with for the last 3 seasons.
Well,
you've got to find a solution to that.
That's part of the problem for me as well, is that Slot last season I thought was so impressive in interviews, and it's easy to be impressive when you're winning the Premier League.
Exactly.
I completely understand that, right? And every manager who's been successful in England has gone through the kind of stage where you love them to the stage where you're like, they're very bitter now. And Slot this season, I think, has genuinely embarrassed himself in press conferences, complaining about set pieces, the fact that they concede too many and Arsenal score too many. Well, how about get better at defending set pieces, mate? He's also been speaking in press conferences about facing low blocks, teams sitting off them, not wanting to play attractive football, the classic, which pretty much every manager has done at some point when they're managing Liverpool, City, etc. And it's just like, Liverpool fans are now being served up this football and hearing nonsense in the press conferences. Again, that is how you lose a fan base. If he was still being honest about, I know it's difficult to be honest in that kind of situation. He's spoken about referees a lot too, but if he just kind of hold his hands up and went, look, I'm not getting it right now. I need, we are going to sort this. We're going to pull whatever, right? I think it'd be a lot easier for Liverpool fans to kind of not forgive him, because you can't really forgive losing 8 out of 11 games for a club like Liverpool. But
I was going to say, I saw a stat, they've lost 6 of their first 12, and this happened with 3 other champions. It was us in 15-16 with Mourinho, Ranieri at Leicester, and Kenny Dalglish at Blackburn. None of those 3 made it to the end of the season.
If you're enjoying this video, the full episodes are now available on every podcast platform. The link is in the description.
No,
it's territory where it's suggestive.
And none of them had spent $500 million in the summer.
Exactly.
Would you sack him right now? Would you?
But Roman lives up there, so that's natural.
You sacked him weeks ago.
Yeah, but I think it's like you said, it's the fact they've spent what they've spent, because the biggest positive you could give Slot last season was that he didn't change a lot.
Yeah,
he tweaked little things here and there, but he kept just things ticking over. So it was an easy way for them to go from Klopp to a new manager.
And he had 2.
And there's so much change now. We haven't seen champions spend as they did, and we've had City had money, we had money, but no one's built on winning a league with $500 million worth of investment and two record-breaking transfers. So it's changed so much, and basically now this is actually Slot's team. I think Klopp's gleefully kind of rubbing his hands together, going, that was my second title.
I think he's angling at returning. He
He
was asked it directly, and he said, he said, when I left the Premier League, I said I'd never come back to a different Premier League club. I never said I wouldn't come back.
I don't really get his.
I think it would be terrible for them.
Yeah.
For me, I wouldn't sack Slot yet, mainly because I look at the managerial market and I think it stinks.
That's tricky, yeah.
But
I think stick with him.
So I would stick with him, but there comes a point where you go. The biggest question for Arne Slot is, can you deal with a bad patch? And so far, the answer to that has been no. We've not seen him do that.
Yeah. And when you
it's
watch
getting
Liverpool,
worse,
and it is getting worse.
Can you watch Liverpool and say, no, they are playing for him, it's just not quite working?
Yeah,
I don't get that impression when I don't. I'm not saying they've down tools, but when I watch them, I don't think, oh wow, do you know what? They look really up.
The Madrid performers would say differently, I think, and the Villa.
The thing is, I think
no, they're not that great either.
Madrid, that week of Madrid Villa looks more and more like that was a blip in the bad form rather than the bad form was a blip in good form. I think at the start,
we were all saying it in the first 5 games when they were just creeping
over.
Right,
but I think that for the start of the season in those first 5 games, you look back at all those last minute winners. I think that's off the back of winning the title. They're still in their head. They're those guys that are going to do it. I think they've lost that. So now you're not seeing that at the end of games. You're not seeing they go 1-0 down. You're not seeing that, Liverpool will get back into this. And once you've lost that and you're playing the way that they're playing, I struggle to see them getting out of this loop that they're in.
Do you know what it kind of reminds me of as well is Liverpool 13-14, right? If they'd won the Premier League title then, would Brendan Rodgers have been one of the best managers in Premier League history? Would he have built a dynasty at Liverpool? Probably not, right? He probably still would have. Maybe they'll pull the next season. You'd have remembered Suarez for that season, right? Last season, Mohamed Salah, all-time a Premier League season, scored insane amounts of goals, insane amounts of assists, whatever you think of as a player. He was unbelievable. Virgil van Dijk, one of the best defensive displays I've ever seen from a defender in Premier League history. You got 2 all-timer seasons there. I think if Slot gets sacked, which I think is in danger of doing, that season then gets remembered as that was the Salah season and that was the Van Dijk season.
Yeah.
And I don't think that. I think that now looks worse for Slot, given what they're doing this season, that title win. I don't think that gives him as much credit in the bank as some people think it does, as well, because of the Klopp point of view as well. It was like, was that almost the hangover of the Klopp and the title that he deserved to win and never did win after his first one?
Like I said, and the investment coupled with it, it's like this is what Slot's actually building.
Yeah. Because if Slot had come in this summer and Klopp had won the title last season with that Liverpool team, he'd probably already be gone.
Well, yeah, 100%. I mean, to be honest, I've been kind of surprised how many Liverpool fans are now Slot out. I mean, obviously we're friends with George Scaife, who is one of the most, probably the most Arne Slot in people, and he's not even convinced, but he's still just about Arne Slot in. But the majority, you're looking at, they want him gone.
If there was like a Xabi Alonso lined up, I think a lot more of them would be Slot out.
True.
True.
I don't think, by the way, Klopp coming back is recipe for disaster. Managers coming back, never go back. Also, never go back this soon.
I think in terms of morale, it would bring them more together. I do think Klopp had a real good ability for that.
Yeah, of course.
I think it's undeniable that if Klopp took over right now, they would start going on a bit of a run.
Probably there would be a manager balance.
Let's be real.
Yeah,
if Klopp came in, the feel around Anfield.
But is it worth it long term?
Maybe not. But as in, even if he took it, if he did a Ragnick and he took it for the rest of the season,
yeah,
he'd be like, oh, they've won
the
Champions League.
When does he get tired again, though?
Well, exactly.
He was knackered, so he had to leave. But I just think that if they go back to Klopp, it would be a story of it's a very similar squad still. Like they didn't actually get rid of lots of players last summer. They've still got, I mean, in the last season before he left, like the Van Dijks, the Salahs, the Alissons, the Robertsons are still there. And I just kind of think it's like he's coming back in, but he's giving the same message. Yeah. And it's like, okay, you might get a little bounce because everyone, oh, Klopp's back, Daddy's back, you know what I mean? But I think long term.
Yeah, I know, I get that.
Or even like short, like medium term, I guess. I don't think like come the end of the season, I don't think he would kind of have Liverpool back up in around the title race.
No.
So it's like, do you just almost get to a point where Slot gets sacked, you sacrifice this season a little bit as Liverpool, you go, right, we've made a lot of big signings, we go again next year, we get a proper manager in the summer.
In all honesty, because Real Madrid's not going that well, you wouldn't be surprised if Xabi Alonso, because Real Madrid are a bit more Roman run. They are a bit more like if things aren't going well. But I'm saying is, you've got multiple players there who worked at Leverkusen before, so they weren't with him. It's Liverpool
fine at Madrid. They're still top of the table.
Yeah. But I'm saying let's see how it goes with Real Madrid because they can.
If they get knocked out of the Champions League early doors, he could
and Barca win the league. He could quite easily be free.
I don't think you should ever really be bringing a manager that's just been sacked. Like in terms of like the boots.
You can count on one hand how many managers don't end up getting sacked at some point.
I think Fabregas for Liverpool is something to keep an eye on. I think that he has been so impressive with what he's doing at.
I think he's got a big move coming.
Yeah, and
I just don't think it'll be there.
I just kind of, you know, when you see it with some young managers, you're like, I'm just still not sure. I just see it with Fabregas. I'm like, the way he worked with, how he worked. Yeah, Spanish midfielders are incredible managers.
Also, he's one of the most intelligent players.
Yeah,
those. It's a bit like, I know it didn't really work out from at Barcelona, but you'd have put a hat on Xavi being a good manager.
I think Xavi had a decent. He took over Barcelona in a very difficult period, won them the league, and didn't have the squad that Hansi Flick has gone on to inherit with, like Lamine Yamal properly coming through and becoming that player. So I think there's potential for like a Xavi, a Fabregas. I think that kind of almost vibe suits Liverpool, like Spanish managers, obviously with Benitez, etc. Like in the past, and with Xavi Alonso, who will be Liverpool manager one day, in my opinion. So it's like, does Fabregas get... Because if Fabregas gets an offer from Liverpool, that's going to be incredibly difficult to turn down from his
always is.
So it's like, do you get rid of Slot? Do you then get Fabregas?
Like Cesc?
No.
Does Fabregas...
I think he comes to one of us at some point, to be honest.
Or Barca.
I think he's the perfect heir to Arteta.
Is it sensible to bring in Fabregas mid-season in his first big job?
No, I don't think it's sensible.
I think that could kill him.
I don't think it's sensible with Fabregas, but we'll cross that bridge if and when Liverpool get to it. For now, I have to say, I'm just thoroughly enjoying not even thinking about them. I made a video yesterday.
Good evening.
And I brought up the... I'm enjoing Jonathan Morley's downfall.
Hey, Jonathan, shout out that performance for the third goal.
I brought up the heart. It's unbelievable. It was like if he jump scared.
Yeah.
But I brought up the Premier League table, and I was referencing, where City are, which I forgot to mention that Liverpool were 11th. Yeah. Like that's how out of it they are at this point.
That's
which
how far they've fallen down.
What a shame. What a shame for them that is.
They're genuinely in danger of missing Champions League.
They're in a top four battle for sure now. Yeah. I mean, they're level on points with Manchester United. United play tonight, obviously, after we film this, so they could get a big win and go above Liverpool. I mean, United are in a top four race, I think, with the quality of players they've got now. And I mean, I'm still not convinced at all on Amorim, but look, we'll discuss that probably in the future. A bit more. Yeah. Exactly, and I just think they're down there with. I think there's a real arrogance with Liverpool towards Manchester United at the moment, and Liverpool fans will hate the fact that United will be above them in the table. Like, hate it after they've had. They're so used to just ridiculing United. They're so used to just being above them, finishing above them, ridiculing them, having Klopp beating them 5-0.
Yeah.
Wherever. And it's
not losing at Anfield to them and below them.
Yeah.
Very quickly. Football moves very quickly.
It's like what I'm saying about Thomas Frank. I mean, football moves at an insane pace. It's like Frank's been here 4 months. I'm already like, oh my God, this guy. But it's like, same thing with Frank. It's like you lose the derby. You lose the big...
You can lose everyone very quickly if you're not careful.
And it's like attitude around the game and stuff. It's why Ange kept a lot of Spurs fans for so long until his attitude and this demeanour in press conferences really started to slip.
Yeah, Arne Slot is probably one more bad defeat like that away from most of the fan base turning.
I think he's one more defeat away from people going, this can't continue.
Yeah. Well, there comes a point.
Was eight losses in 11. It's not even just the 6.
And also, by the way, the amount of money they've spent and the amount of wages that they've got currently. You think Van Dijk's on unbelievable money, highest paid centre back in the world. There comes a point where you go, well, we have to get into the Champions League, otherwise we're in financial trouble.
Crisis,
according to Carragher and whoever else, we still need to buy another centre-back, another attacking player, a midfielder.
In January,
well, you can't afford to do that if you're not in the Champions
League.
But
if you're Gay, is there not a part of you maybe that looks at things and goes,
nah, he goes Liverpool.
Nah, he will go there.
But what if a Real Madrid or someone sniffed around and went, just hold off?
I know that there's not much of this in football these days, but I do feel like Mark Gahey is an honourable man. I feel like if he's given his word to Liverpool, seems like the kind of guy who wouldn't go back on that. Yeah, it's like I think he probably goes Liverpool in January, and it's like, do you give Slot January and then do you see where he's there? But because there might not be a harm in sacking him before that. But Liverpool they're terrible at the moment, and I think we're all taking some pleasure in that. But I also actually, to finish off on it, I don't know why, but visually 11th is okay for now. If Liverpool are in like 14th, that's the point where I'm like, Liverpool literally cannot.
Is it just the turn? I'm thinking about this now. The last few years, right? We under Potter were 12th. Last year, United and Spurs fighting to go down. And then is it just there?
I don't think this should be tolerated. The lowest, our absolute worst, we ended up in 8th, and that.
Oh no, I agree.
You were lower for a period under Arteta.
In terms of where we finished the season, but like it used to be like a big team dropping out of Europa was bad. 8th was terrible. I think you're looking at 11th going, that's not bad. That's because you were just used to looking at 17th all of last season. I think you've been desensitized to how bad that is.
No, the quality of the rest of the league
so bad.
Does play into a part of this. Like,
the quality of the rest of the league, I don't think is very good. You're ahead of them. We've been talking about how bad you look. Let's be honest, Ruben Amorim's Man United, are they actually good? No. You're just all that middle of the packers on that 19 points. I honestly, I think what they have done so far this season is terrible. And if they continue like this and they continue to be outside the top half of this Premier League, I think it's untenable.
Yeah.
You're just desensitised to it because of
maybe
17th.
17th.
Yeah, they look like a poor team.